What's up, Guardians, and welcome back, Warlocks. I'm Profane, thanks for checking out the video. Today we'll be diving into another powerful Warlock build, but we won't be looking into the Prismatic subclass with this one. Instead, we'll be checking out a Void build featuring the Briarbinds Exotic Gauntlets. While Prismatic subclasses are all the rage nowadays, the Briarbinds is topping the charts in Voidwalker potential, especially when we have several new artifact mods that will help boost the performance of this unique exotic. This exotic comes with the One with the Void intrinsic trait, which enhances the functionality of the Void buddies created by the Child of the Old Gods aspect. When activating our class ability, we'll create a Void buddy, whose sole purpose is to seek down enemies and drain their life force. This will drain enemies of 43 points of base damage every 5 seconds. When enemies become affected by a Void buddy, they will become weakened with a 15% debuff. Based on which rift type we are using, whenever our Void buddies latch onto an enemy, we'll gain either grenade and melee energy, which is what we'll get when we're using a healing rift, or whenever using an empowering rift, we'll gain a continuous source of health regeneration as the Void buddies give our enemies the suck. Whenever using a healing rift, we'll gain 4% bonus energy to both abilities every second and a half, and whenever using an empowering rift, we'll gain 25 points of health every second and a half. Since we don't get the benefit of Radiance whenever running the Void subclass, having an Empowering Rift could really help give us more overall damage, while keeping us alive in the process. As you defeat enemies who have been drained by your Void buddy, you will generate bonus class ability energy, which is going to let us cast our Rift and generate new buddies much more often. The bonus energy that we get will be based on the difficulty level of the target, and it will range between 10 and 50% bonus class ability energy. The standout benefit that the Briarbinds provides is allowing you to retrieve your Void buddy, because if timed out properly, you could see yourself juggling as many as 3 or 4 buddies at once. While the bonus energy that's provided by the Void buddies will not stack, having multiple buddies out at once allows you to engage multiple crowds of enemies at the same time, causing more and more enemies to become weakened in the process, which is going to allow you and teammates to deal more damage. Void buddies are going to stay active for 25 seconds, but with the use of the Briarbinds, you'll extend their livelihood by an extra 12 seconds, and you'll gain the added benefit of being able to retrieve your Void buddy so that you can redeploy it later. Once you've retrieved a Void buddy, it'll stay by your side for as long as 25 seconds, but as soon as you open fire on an enemy, the Void buddy will get back to work. As you defeat enemies with the Void buddy and retrieve it, you'll give it a stacking bonus to its damage and damage resistance, giving each buddy as much as a 100% increase in overall damage, with 50% bonus damage resistance, but that's after defeating 5 enemies. The caveat to this is that the bonus in damage and resistance is not shared between different Void buddies, so if you have multiple buddies up at once, it'll be difficult to keep track. So if you are juggling Void buddies, you're looking at having between a 16 and a 33% bonus in damage, with around 16% bonus resistance. In most situations, we would pair this aspect up with the Feed the Void aspect, so that we would gain Devour after defeating enemies with any of our abilities. But because we have the Power from Pain artifact mod, we can trigger that Devour whenever we defeat at least 3 weakened enemies. With Devour active, we'll gain a secondary source of health regeneration and bonus grenade energy off of each final blow. And since Power from Pain will provide us with that Devour, we can use Chaos Accelerant as our second aspect, which will improve the lethality of our Vortex grenades, causing those to last longer, to deal more damage, and to affect a larger radius. And because of our choice in Fragments, those Vortex grenades will be even more effective. With Echo of Undermining, our grenades will apply that same 15% weakening debuff as our Void buddy does. This will mean that we'll have plenty of weakened enemies to defeat to be able to keep that Devour active and to keep our bonus ability energy coming in. With Echo of Instability active, our Void weapons will gain volatile rounds whenever we defeat enemies with our grenades. After inflicting enemies with volatile energy, they'll trigger Void explosions. While our weapons have volatile rounds, they will be able to pierce barrier champion shields. With Echo of Harvest active, we'll generate Void Breaches and Orbs of Power whenever defeating weakened enemies. Void Breaches provide bonus class ability energy, which will greatly improve our Void buddy uptime. And with bonus orbs, we can make use of a few different armor mods that we'll talk about here soon. Because of Echo of Persistence, we will have extended time given to the duration of our Devour and any overshields that we create. And we do plan on activating those by incorporating void weapons that come with Repulsor Brace. This will trigger a Void Overshield whenever defeating weakened enemies, and whenever those overshields are active, we'll gain a 70% bonus in damage resistance. Weapons that also include destabilizing rounds will make an excellent complement to Repulsor Brace, as those weapons will trigger volatile explosions that will activate those Void Overshields. Before we talk further about our weapon choices, let's dig in deeper to our new artifact mods. Concussive Reload would give us yet another option at weakening enemies. If we were to be using grenade launchers, this would apply that same 15% debuff against any high-value target. But since we can trigger that with our Void Buddy and our grenades, we don't really have to rely on Concussive Reload. We are using Debilitating Wave, which will give our finishers a little extra bite, as performing a finisher will trigger a wave of energy, causing enemies within its path to become inflicted with a weakening debuff. Since we'll create Void Breaches by defeating weakened enemies, we are activating the Supernova mod. So whenever we pick up a Void Breach, our next source of Void damage will apply yet another burst of weakening. Supernova is not limited to our Void abilities, which means we will be able to trigger that burst of weakening with any of our Void weapons. Unless we are including stasis weapons into our loadout, we will be going with Kinetic Tremors as our final artifact mod. This will cause our heavy grenade launchers to proc Kinetic Tremors after sustained damage. This will stun unstoppable champions and give grenade launchers like the Edge Transit a significant boost in overall damage. When it comes to exotic weapons, the Graviton Lance is one of the strongest options, especially with pulse rifles getting the nod towards unstoppable champs. But there's also the Collective Obligation, which would make an absolutely fantastic option to pair with Briarbinds. Otherwise, the Leviathan's Breath or Luminarch would be incredible alternate options. To play into some of the stasis artifact mods that are available right now, we could add in a stasis weapon or two that comes with traits like Chill Clip or Headstone. By doing this, we could activate the Conductive Cosmic Crystal artifact mod instead of Kinetic Tremors. This would give our Void abilities a 5% bonus in damage whenever used against enemies who are slowed or frozen. And we could increase that bonus to as much as 8% by using the associated tonic. With our class tree, artifact mod, and weapon loadouts addressed, the only thing left to talk about is our choice in armor and character stats. With in-game activities in mind, we are focusing towards resilience so that we can reduce our incoming damage by 30%. By focusing into recovery, we could have the shortest possible cooldown time of our class ability, which would greatly improve the uptime of our Void Buddies. Beyond these two stats, I would recommend investing into Discipline to improve the uptime of our grenade energy so that we can keep those weakening debuffs applied. As far as armor and armor mods go, our main goal is to help regenerate as much ability energy as we can, while creating as many extra orbs as possible. By using Bolstering Detonation and Insulation, we'll give ourselves bonus class ability energy. Between those armor mods and all of the other sources of ability energy that we'll gain, we shouldn't really need to use Utility Kickstart, but it would help us crank out a few extra rifts. But instead, I find it more beneficial to use Weapon Surge mods. We're already generating orbs by defeating weakened enemies, so by using Harmonic Siphon, Firepower, and Reaper mods, we would keep ourselves stocked up on armor charges to be able to keep weapon surges active. Like I mentioned before, we don't have Radiance whenever using Void, so to be able to keep up with that same level of damage output, we need to be sure that we're using Weapon Surge mods, which are going to provide us with between 10 and 17% bonus damage, which is going to stack on top of our Empowering Rift. And with that, I think we've now covered all the ins and outs of this powerful Briarbinds Voidwalker build, a build that is absolutely dominating right now. So if you haven't had a chance to check out this amazing exotic, then it's high time you do so, and once you've checked it out, let me know what your thoughts were. With that said, I wish you all the best of luck out there, but thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you need to make a copy of today's build, then be sure to check out the Mobalytics link that's down in the description, where you'll be able to find this and a ton of other great in-game builds. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.